All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Pluralsight CEO, Mr. Aaron Skonnard.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited for our next guest. Arlan Hamilton is a remarkable entrepreneur who built a venture capital firm from the ground up while homeless. She's the founder and managing partner of Backstage Capital, a venture capital firm dedicated to minimizing funding disparities. They're investing in tech, high potential founders who are people of color, women, and LGBT. She is a driving force in improving equality across investing in tech, and I'm so excited for you to hear her story. Let's bring her out, Arlan Hamilton. Arlan, it's so good to be with you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
It's awesome to have you here in Utah. You know, perseverance and grit are two of the words I think of when I hear your story. There are a couple of words that are also really unique to Utah and how this place was created. And in the end, your journey just really inspires me. You've gone from 0 companies to 100 companies that you've invested in the last few years. Tell us how you did it.
Yes, so 4 years ago, I started from scratch, didn't have any money, had negative, it said I had $12 in my bank account. That was a good day.
$12?
Yeah, I had no money, but I knew that there needed to be a fund that would invest in companies led by people who had been overlooked. And so I set out a few years prior to that. And 2014, 2015, I said, I'm going to invest in 100 companies by 2020. And everyone laughed at me and said, there's no way you could ever do that, especially if you're talking about women, people of color, LGBT. People asked me questions just a few years ago, like, do women make companies? And so I asked them to walk outside of their door and look around and come out from outside that rock, under that rock they had been living in. So a lot of perseverance and a lot of doors closed in my face and a lot of no's and not giving up and a lot of tears too.
Yeah.
A lot of should I stop? Should I keep going? But ultimately, someone believed in me and then more, and the companies were there. They were all over the country and they were remarkable. And we saw 3,000. 3,000 companies.
You saw 3,000 companies to get the 100.
Yes.
Wow.
To get to 100 over a 4-year or so period.
Well, such a clear vision. I mean, you were committed to creating change in this very specific area of underrepresented, founders and leaders. And you did it a year early, it sounds like.
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Every month
Who's
counts.
counting? Yeah, that's awesome. So you crushed it, and what do you attribute that to? What was it about the journey that allowed you to accomplish it so quickly?
Well, the companies that we were talking about, this wasn't some sort of charity, a helping hand sort of thing. These were companies that were making and producing incredible things, and a lot of them were already generating revenue, and they were doing a great job, and I was able to see their competition. So I understood that they were viable companies, and I wanted allocation in those companies.
Yeah.
So while I was having my sort of rags to kind of okay story happening, that was definitely happening personally, but it wasn't some sort of altruistic, I want to save the world thing. It was, these companies are valuable, they're being overlooked, I can relate to them, so I can speak to them, and this is a win-win.
I mean, ultimately, you wanted to make money. Like, you were out to invest in these companies that were out there winning. And in the end, less than 10% of all venture capital deals go to women, people of color, and LGBT. And so your belief, what I'm hearing from you, is you believe they were there, but they were just being overlooked by the system.
It's not that I believe it, it's that it's fact.
Yeah, they were there.
They were there.
They were there.
To them, unless I was hallucinating those first few years, they existed.
Yeah.
And no one was paying attention to them. People were writing them off for various reasons. And there were all sorts of bias in play. And we all have bias, every single one of us. And so to a lot of investors, because they're 90% of investors, VC investors, are white men, because they were pattern matching, which is what you do in VC a lot of the times, they were not noticing the potential that I was noticing. So I decided I'm going to pattern match as well, but I'm going to pattern match for me.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
That's incredible.
All right, that's my group right there. I like that.
And it worked.
Yeah.
So, in 2015, you wrote this article titled, Dear White Venture Capitalists. If you're reading this, it's almost too late. And it went viral. What sparked the desire? Was it that? Was it like the fact that you could see this and no one else could?
I wrote that in summer of 2015 while I was living at the airport in San Francisco. And I had just
That was the homeless part?
That was part of the homeless.
Yeah.
And it's not homeless, it's homeless.
Okay.
That was part of it, yeah. But I wrote that, it was probably 3 or so years into working on this and getting no after no. And I was trying to raise money, but I was also working with founders. I never stopped doing that. So I was still seeing people creating things and celebrating their wins and being with them with their losses. And I went to a conference, and the conference had a panel, and the panel was something like Black is the New Black or something cute like that, right? And the people on the panel were entrepreneurs who had millions in revenue, Black people. There were investors who had millions under management, but everyone in the audience sort of shifted in their seats when they came on, and sort of it became awkward to them.
It was uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable to them because they didn't understand that what we're talking about is another trend. It's something else that you need to research and understand and look at as an opportunity rather than, oh, here comes the HR portion of our day.
Yeah.
Let me check my phone. You need to be paying attention.
Yeah, wow. So what advice would you have for the people in the audience who are experiencing hardship in some way right now?
I think the biggest thing, I could talk about it for hours, but I think the biggest thing that I have understood and realized on this journey is that anytime that I stray from being myself, something goes wrong. Anytime I try to button it up or wear the right clothes or say the right thing that someone else is more comfortable with, it usually is a very temporary high. And so I would say to anybody, no matter what your skin color is, what your background is, if you're going through it right now, just continue to be yourself, because I didn't get a first check until I was almost 35 years old. And before that, I had been broke my whole life. And I'm very grateful that I did it in a way that is very authentic to myself. So that's one thing.
And what advice would you have for the people in the audience who are not experiencing hardship?
Yeah, so if you are a rich uncle type, come see me. I'll be back there. You can see that. If you're doing well, which I hope you are. I hope that for everyone, all the time. That's what we're aiming for. So I don't begrudge anyone who's doing well. If you're doing well, I encourage you to share that with others. It doesn't have to be this huge thing that you do. It doesn't have to be you writing a check to an organization or doing any of that. Just a small action. I'll give you one quick example of sharing your privilege and how you can relate it to what most people in this room have probably encountered. Ever been to a concert that's standing room only, and someone behind you couldn't see because of your height? It doesn't matter if you're 5 foot tall, someone is shorter than you, or someone is in a wheelchair, or someone can't see. So they may have asked you to step aside just so they can see the same stage that you're seeing and have the same experience. I imagine most of you in this room wouldn't have a big problem moving to the side and allowing someone else to see the same concert and have the same lived experience as you. And I promise you, it did not make you shorter when that happened. So if you can think of it like that and do something small just to share your privilege, you don't have to have less of it. Mm-hmm. You don't have less privilege when you share it. It's like a candle.
That's awesome. What about education? Do you think you need a college degree to go be successful?
I personally don't. I don't have a college degree. I don't think you need one to be successful. We have 35 or so people on our team at Backstage now, and I would say half of them have college degrees, and maybe a sixth or fifth of them have Ivy League degrees. Yeah. So I'm very proud of anyone who goes through the process and gets that for themselves. I think that it's great. I think that anyone cannot get that and have just as much, if not more, success. I just think that they're almost equal. I know there's some strong opinions right now about that, but I tend to be a little bit in the middle there, which I'm normally not, so I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being right at Switzerland. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the end, I think it's more about the person and their ability to learn and adapt, wherever they're at in life, as opposed to the credential.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about experience.
Yeah.
Having to see the world. When I got out of high school, the first thing I did is travel a little bit with what I had.
Yeah.
Because I thought I'm going to go to a 4-year college, and I wanted to. And I learned so much in that gap year.
Yeah.
But the gap year was just a year at that point. It just turned into a gap life.
Right. So you just announced your $36 million fund. It's called the It's About Time Fund. Is that the name?
I mean, it's called the It's About Damn Time Fund. But yes, you can call it that as well.
Okay.
And
tell us about it.
I mean, it's not legally called that. I just said that online, and it really took off. And it is because it's about time. So this fund that we've sort of pledged $36 million to invest in Black women-owned companies, $1 million at a time. Again, it's a mixture of, yes, social impact investing, but it's also a huge opportunity, because right now, for every $1.2 million that a white man raises in their seed round, a Black woman raises $42,000. And she's expected to do the same, if not better. And if we're being honest, she's expected to do better, to be seen as equal. So my thesis is, let's see we've seen what she can do with $42,000. Let's see what she does with $1 million. And see how far she goes. And the only reason, in my opinion, that any investor would have a problem with that, or any entrepreneur would have a problem with that, is if you think that if she is on your level playing field, she beats you and you don't like that. That's the only reason you'd have a problem. I was called racist when it came out. I was called, it's unfair, and I just, I became the painting your nails emoji.
Yeah.
Because that's ridiculous.
So we're almost out of time, but you're the first African-American woman to make the cover of Fast Company.
That's not true. That's awesome. Who is not a celebrity?
Who's not a celebrity?
Who's not a celebrity?
Who's not a celebrity?
So I'll tell you who was on it first. Oprah, Serena Williams, and Beyonce, and then me.
Woo!
Thank you.
How did that feel? I mean, going from where you started your journey to that, to this.
Not to like pull on the heartstrings too much, but the truth is, 4 years ago, I would have had a really hard time buying the $8 copy of that. And so to be on the cover of it, I got a lot of free copies. I made sure that was in the contract. It was absolutely surreal first to be told that I was going to be on the cover. I didn't believe them. I thought there was a mistake. And it was absolutely surreal. And then once it happened, I felt very honored. I felt like I'm going to take this very, very seriously, which I do. I take this honor very seriously. And most importantly, and most of all, I do consider this to be anyone's cover who has gone through their life not feeling represented in business or elsewhere, and that can be a lot of people.
It's so incredible. Any last thoughts, last advice for the audience today?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I really appreciate y'all having me, and you're a very polite audience, I've noticed. Very polite here. It's my first time in Salt Lake City, and I think this is great. I want to, my mom is here in the backstage, and she's turning—
Give it up for Mom.
Yes. She's turning 70 in March, and we're making this her whole year. Her whole year is her birthday. So I want to wish her a happy birthday. And if you see her, please do the same. And I just want to encourage everyone to go to BackstageCapital.com, check out what we're doing, check out our companies. If you're an investor, please take a look at our companies. They raised more than $50 million together last year, and that's a conservative number. They are amazing, and we're agnostic, so they're in many, many industries. Also, Arlan was here on Twitter and Instagram. ARLAN was here. I spend a lot of time interacting with people on there, and I look forward to talking to you all.
Arlan, thank you so much for being here, coming
Thank
to
you.
Silicon Slopes. Give it up, Arlan Hamilton.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Arlan.